Hi, this is Jeff from the Ozark Mountains. That's in Missouri, in the USA. Well, we're sitting over at the retro kitchen table turned retro computer table, and that can only mean one thing. Yep, it's time for another Ferengi Friday, where we take a look at the recent acquisitions that have made their way into the shop. This week is kind of a roadshow edition. I was on a bit of a trek, if you will, to a couple different vintage computer shows on the eastern half of the United States. Tandy Assembly in Springfield, Ohio, and the HHC conference down in Orlando. And I happened to pick up a few things despite my best efforts not to, so I thought I'd share those with you and so you can see the recent acquisitions that have made their way into the shop. So grab yourself a Rectogino or maybe an earth drink like root beer, and let's get started. Thanks to PCBWay for sponsoring this video. They not only do PCBs and flex PCBs, they also have 3D printing service, injection molding service. They do CNC machining, sheet metal fabrication. They also have a thriving maker community where you can share projects and check out what other people are doing. For your next project, head on over to PCBWay. Well, from Tandy Assembly, I have, well, some rolls of paper, which doesn't seem really exciting, but this is a box of 3 rolls of paper for the CGP 115, which is the little printer plotter that uses the 4 pins, the ALPS mechanisms that I love so much. I was fascinated that a full box of this still existed, and the fellow that had this was nice enough to give me one. He had 2, so I'll fix this up. You see me fix boxes on some other videos, and I won't use this paper for my plotters, but it's just cool that a box of this still exists. Along those lines, this is a box of printer paper for the CGP 220, which was an inkjet printer. This is a full box with 3 big rolls. This was at the auction. People donate stuff and they auction it off to raise money to put on the show. Nobody's really bidding on this, so I, give a couple dollars for it. Again, it's just interesting that this whole box exists. If you bought a big box of printer paper, it's because you had a printer and then you wound up not using it. So that kind of fascinates me. And in this little Tupperware container is something special. If we open it up, you can see there's some bubble wrap, and it's a box that says Sharp Parts, and it says LCD screen for PC3 pocket computer. It's got a big part number there. I don't know if you can see that. On the other side, there's another label, part number AL-1463, quantity 2. So the TRS-80 PC3 was a Sharp 1250 or PC 1250, 1251. So it came with the new bezel that went inside. And inside in this foam is a new old stock LCD screen. How about that? And of course, thankfully, these are being reproduced now. But this is an original replacement part from back in the day. I just thought that was super cool. The fellow that had this said, hey, I thought of you. And he was nice enough to gift it to me. And of course, I'm not going to install this in a computer, which he said he kind of figured he couldn't bring himself to do so either. But just that this new old stock part exists complete in the box with the packing materials is kind of neat. I've actually been lucky enough to find a small number of vintage Sharp replacement parts through different purchases on eBay, kind of accidentally. So maybe if you guys would like, we'll do a video about those someday. I asked him if he wanted the Tupperware container back, and he said, well, this thing has been in this Tupperware container for years. So he thought the container needed to go with it. And indeed, I will keep it just like that. This group of stuff is from the HHC conference, which was held in Orlando this year, HHC 2023. HHC was started about 25 or so years ago from people who had been in other similar groups, which were originally kind of dedicated to HP programmable calculators and pocket computers, and it's kind of branched out since then, but it's still heavily influenced by the older HP stuff, which is good. It's all good stuff. These two items are from the prize table. Everybody brings in some stuff, donates to the prize table, which is like door prizes, and they randomly draw numbers, and you get to go pick something. And I picked these things because I had no idea what they were. They do say Hewlett-Packard on them. And I looked up and I found out that these are all over eBay and such without any good explanation of what they are. And some of the guys on the HP Museum forum straightened me out as to what they are. This is, it says right there, HP HILID module. This is for an HP workstation. And you plug this in, I think maybe in line with the keyboard or some other device, or at least it has a pass-through through it. And this is a security dongle. It lets you run secure applications and that type of thing. This is the sort of cable that was used with it. It's just like a telephone type plug that's more heavy duty. This one is an HP HIL audio remote extension. I guess this would extend the audio and keyboard for an HP workstation. So that's what this guy looks like. And here's one of the other cables that have been used on the computer. I'm not sure which, but these things are built really solid. It's a plastic case, but it's very heavy. So maybe sometime, if you guys are interested, we'll do a teardown on those. I just thought it was fun learning about what they were for. And somehow they came up with a bunch of these HP95 demo cartridges, and they gave one to everybody as a little fun thing, which I thought was neat. Just some new old stock items. One amazing thing that they do is every year they give out a flash drive. They start out with like CDs and stuff, and then DVDs, which didn't hold enough. Then they went to flash drives. This is a 256 gig. It's almost full with about all the known HP documentation, previous conference videos, everything like that, scans of manuals and everything. It's amazing. These guys really put a lot of effort into preserving the HP documentation and stuff. So it's a good example for people that are really fans of other brands to follow. So when you attend the conference, you get one of these each year, and they also sell them on the HP Museum website. I'll put a link to that down below. This was a premium prize. There's a table with about 20 or 30 premium prizes this year, and I was lucky enough to win one. And you might guess what it is right there, since it says Swiss Micros. And I put it back in the box so I could show you what a nice box they did. I'm not a fan of fancy packaging because it's just a waste. But this, they did a nice box that protects it. It makes a good presentation, and it's easy to open, and it's not a big waste. It's very simple. Inside is a DM41X from Swiss Micros, which is an HP 41 clone using the same hardware as the DM42 that they also do. This back is thick stainless steel. This thing has some heft to it. And the keys are beautiful. See if you can hear this. Hear that click? I just had it up closer to my chest. These are nearly as good as the original HP keys. They slope slightly toward the front. I have an HP 41 that's kind of beat up. I've not used it very much. I've spent a week and a half learning how to use this thing. It's amazing. They have a display images that you can put in a folder that get displayed on random when you shut the thing off, and it just stays on there all the time without causing a lot of battery drain. So then, it's an RPN machine, like an HP 41. With the difference is you've got a larger screen, so it shows you the full stack X, Y, Z, and T. It's got like the time module built into it, and you can add HP 41 module files to simulate the modules over the USB connection. It's really kind of a lot of fun. I've been learning to program this, and it's a little different, but it was definitely a really big step forward from the programmable calculators of the era. Not only added alpha capability, but you can do stuff like execute alpha G N U M. This is a guess the number game I wrote, and some of the guys on the forums gave me some tips. And we'll guess 5. Run stop. This is too small. Of course, this is a number here, 9. So I'll guess 8. Run stop. Too small. 10. Run stop. Too big. So that means it has to be 9. And it took 4 guesses. So tacking on the alpha capability to the idea of the programmable calculator was done in an interesting way. But again, for the time period, this came out in 79, so they've probably been working on it since, at least mid-77. So really amazing for that time period. And I'll have to dig out my real HP 41 and finish fixing that up. Maybe we'll do a video on that. Okay, now some books. This is the Recall 20 book. This is actually new old stock. These were printed 20 years ago, as I recall, or else these are reprints. I forget which, but the book was done 20 years ago by, now I'm forgetting the name of the group, the HPCC, Handheld and Portable Computer Club in England. And at their 20th anniversary, they came out with this book, which has a bunch of essays in it and things that various members wrote about things. This past year, they came out with Recall 40, which is the 40th anniversary. It's about half a Guinness thick. And again, it's other things that various members wrote. And Bob Prosperi had some of these that he brought back with him from England. And he was selling for what they cost. They were just selling them at their cost of printing. So I look forward to reading those. A couple other prizes from the prize table. Some HP books, graphics on the HP 48. Now, I've used the HP 48 a lot. I've sold my original one, and I've got a couple newer to me ones that I need to fix up. So it's nice finding a book like this that's got a lot of examples. I learn a lot by looking at other people's programming examples. And I think this is one that Eric Reschlin had maybe cut the binding off of to scan. I'll put a link to his website down there. He is a prolific scanner and archiver and has the best collection of HP-centric manuals, bar none. This is for the HP 11C and 15C. I do have an 11C somewhere. A book about programming that, which is nice. You can see here, so I enjoy reading this as well. Now let's see what that really big thing is. For a guy that loves pocket computers, this is kind of an odd machine to pick up at Tandy Assembly. It was another item that was donated to the auction. A fella named Tim refurbished this. He's a real mensch. I know he does good work, and this Model 2 is in such great physical condition. I knew I would never find another one like it. Your chances of buying one of these online and having it shipped to you and arriving in one piece is about 5%. So I bought it while I was in Ohio from the auction, even though I was headed toward Florida next and then back to Missouri. So this thing has had about a 2,000-mile trip getting here. So I don't think I am going to power it up in this particular video. I want to take it apart and make sure the cards are all seated and everything like that. Tim's already gone through the power supply, got the floppy drive working, set up a couple Gotex, which he included, that type of thing. There's some 8-inch floppies that came with it, and I've got a bag of parts here, which I'll explain in a little bit. I thought we would go ahead and take the saran wrap off. Tim wrapped it up with saran wrap on a stick, as a coworker of mine would say, to keep it from getting scratched and everything, which is real nice of him. So we'll take this off and just see what kind of shape it's in. And I actually had to put the wide angle lens on the camera because this thing is so huge, and I had to remove all the printer and stuff that's normally back here. So I guess we'll start with the main unit here. So the Model II obviously came out after the Model 1, although the Model 1 was first, and they realized that people wanted to buy personal computers, and they came up with the Model II as a more bang for the buck type of thing for businesses at the time. It was still a very expensive computer, a few $1,000s in the early 80s. They used an 8-inch floppy drive because you could store, it was either 600 or 800K on a floppy as opposed to 200K. They had another 3-bay floppy drive unit, which would mount under a desk that was about as wide as this guy, about as big as this whole box by itself. So everything looks good, just a little dirt. There's a little bit of wear and tear here. Serial number on it, looks like somebody scrawled on there. Keyboard cable that comes out to plug into a detachable keyboard. And they made a little cubby type of thing here so you could slide the keyboard back under it like that. Okay, there's our keyboard. It's got a little wear there from the heel of the hand. Most of these TRS-80 keyboards are pretty worn off along here. A little scuffing right here. But again, it's in very, very good shape. It's also engraved right there. Oh, I just realized what that is. I'll have to blur that out. That is somebody's social security number. There was a thing back in the 70s and early 80s where people thought it was a good idea to scratch their social security number on stuff for, if it got stolen. And now that that's used for identification for everything in the US, it's not such a good idea anymore. So here is our keyboard. Kind of a standard QWERTY layout on this size. Everything's not too bad. A separate lock and caps lock key. And I don't remember what the point of the lock was right off the top of my head. Repeat was for an auto key repeat. So if you hold down repeat and press M, it'll repeat M rather than having an auto key repeat based on time. Their cursor keys are in a weird vertical format. Separate enter on the number pad, which is nice. And 2 function keys hanging out way over here to the right. The back of it's nice and clean. Stickers in good shape. Model 2 microcomputer keyboard. And on the back is the plug there. A few little scrapes. Overall in very, very nice shape. Here we've got our main unit. This guy is huge. Of course, you can tell this is an 8-inch drive. So if I hold the box of 8-inch disc up here, there's 8 inches, there's 16 inches. So this is probably close to 20 inches wide and 6, maybe 15 inches tall, probably 24 inches deep. I'll let you guys in metric land worry about that conversion. A single big 8-inch floppy drive. Now these full height 8-inch floppy drives like this use an AC synchronous motor, which runs the whole time you have the disc in there, and it loads and unloads the heads from the disc as you're using it. Power LED on off button, which toggles up, which is kind of interesting, and a reset button, which is similar, which I always thought was kind of weird. Just down here, there is your screen controls, contrast and brightness, and of course the keyboard connector. Rotate. So here is the back of the computer. A nice label. Serial number 64037586. Model number 26-4002. 120 volts, 60 hertz, 198 volt amps, so 200 watts. Custom manufactured in USA by Radio Shack. So let's zoom in here a bit so you can see what's going on. There we go. Here we have the disk expansion. Now this would plug into that optional set of 3 disk drives I mentioned. If you're not using that, there needs to be a termination dongle plugged in there. I think that's probably in our bag with the Gotex. Parallel printer port, 2 serial ports. One port is, I think it's A, is synchronous or asynchronous. The synchronous serial is kind of interesting. And B is a regular, asynchronous UART fuse, AC power. And you pop this top off right here and the cards are inside. Maybe we'll go ahead and look at that. And then we'll get into looking at the goodies that came with it. I went out to the garage and got a long Phillips screwdriver to more easily access these screws because they're down in there quite far. This back cover kind of tilts up and comes off like that. One thing I will point out here, if you look at this cover, you might be tempted to think these are cracks or scratches right here. But then you notice that they're kind of symmetric. And if you rotate this guy over, you can see that there are matching ones on this side. These come from the molding process. This is large and relatively thin for its size. As the plastic cools after it's injected in there, it's going to cool at slightly different rates. It can cause stress like that, and after 40 years of this guy slightly shrinking as plastic does, it can increase that stress. Sometimes you can get cracks that way. I just noticed on here that this says September 2nd of 81. This is October 21st of 2023 as I'm recording this, so it is what, 42 years and a few weeks old. So all of the cards seem tight. The drive looks in good shape. The picture tube looks fine. I noticed that Tim even put the dates on the reefer caps when he replaced those. What a guy. So we have power supply, video board, of course CRT. We've got 4 cards in this 8-card cage. I think this might be memory, because it's got a lot of 16-pin dips. Perhaps serial board, parallel board, CPU board, and something else, but I don't really know off the top of my head. I looked at the manual, but it's been a few days. This looks in really good shape. All the cards, have stayed seated. They've got this little protector thing here to help them do that, though. Oh, that was a little loose. Okay, so that was worth checking. Okay, so I'm really happy with this. I'm going to go ahead and put this cover back on, and we'll take a look at the other goodies we got with it. So here we have our Gotex, and even have labels that say drive 0, drive 1. So I'm not sure what the, oh, you can't see where I'm pointing at the internal 8-inch drive. I'm not sure what it's set up as. And he even included a thumb drive, which I'm guessing has all the images on it. This has an adapter board to go from the 34-pin normal IDE to the 50-pin, or maybe it's more on the Model II. I think it's 50 pins. Bus for that. It's very nicely put together, very secure. And the Gotex is powered by 5 volts coming from this USB plug. I'm not sure what I'll do there, or how I'll mount this to make something attractive looking, but that'll be something to do. Maybe we can 3D print something or something like that. So may have to send him a message and ask him what the internal drive is configured at. That might be configured as drive 3, perhaps. But it's nice that he included the Gotex with the whole package, since he set it up like that. That's very thoughtful. And we have a box of 8-inch disc. I'm not sure how this originally, oops, you can't see what I'm doing there. Not sure how that would originally opened, because it'll open like that once you take the disc out, which seemed weird. Yep. Now we need little micro SD drives for me. Let's see, we have TRS-80 Model II LS-DOS 6.3.1. TRS-80 Model II VisiCalc, TRS-DOS 2.0A, Games, oh, Games 2, Games 1, DOS Plus 2, Diagnostics, Maryland Games, Lifeboat CPM, ALBS, I don't know what that is. And these are 2 discs that a fella at the HHC conference walked up and handed me. I had put on the HP Museum forum that I was bringing this Model 2 with me because I'd picked it up in Ohio. And he said, oh, I had these laying around, nothing to use them in, so you might as well have them, which I thought was very nice of him. So there is the official TRS-DOS Model 2 version 2, and there is also a TRS-DOS 2, which is not the same as TRS-DOS for the Model 2. It's something like that's actually Model DOS 4 or something. It's very confusing. And I just found something else I've been looking for. Okay, and then we have the Magic Wand, which says Magic Wand 1.0, use edit.0.com and print.0.com. Word processing systems. So it does not say if this was for a TRS-80, but I guess we'll find out. Anyhow, that was nice of him to include this nice box of discs, and the other fella to give me those 2 he had hanging around. Alright, now I have not looked in this box yet, so I don't know if it is what it says on the tin, but it says FloppyClean, disposable disk drive cleaning system. And it shows a guy using a computer with disk. The problem, data in danger. Uh-oh. The solution, FloppyClean. So how does this open up? Like this. Oh, look at that. Wow. Nice plastic box that says 8-inch disk drive cleaning system. Look at that. Oh, wow. That is a complete 8-inch disk drive cleaning thing. So there is a sleeve, and you can put the disk things in there. And it's got some aerosol cleaner in the back. And on this side, that looks like some directions, a little towel there, an anti-static screen wipe, which I'm sure is dry. What does this thing say? 5 1/4 and 8-inch disposable disk drive cleaning system instructions. Refills available. Remove easy jacket and microsol aerosol can. So basically you slip one of the little cotton or felt pads in the thing, you spritz it with some of the cleaner, which is probably just alcohol, stick it in there, activate drive according to suggestions. On reverse of instructions, disk must spin for 30 seconds. So, well, this is for IBM compatibles, Apple II, Apple Lisa, and Epson. So basically, you're just trying to do something to get it to try to read the disk so it'll run for long enough to clean it, to run the head over the felt material. That is just super duper awesome that he included that. You know, there's a little aerosol can. Imagine that's just alcohol. Never been used. You know, and basically this is just an 8-inch disc jacket with the top cut off of it. I guess we can flip that around that way so we can see the sticker. Okay, well, since that has never been used, I will likely not use it. And that'll go on the shelf as a conversation piece. It was nice of Tim to include that. How about that? Okay, one more thing, which includes that thing I found in that disc jacket. I know I put it somewhere that made sense, I just couldn't remember where. This is a 512K RAM expansion for a Model II. It's made by a Dutch guy named Ruud. I can't pronounce his name properly, but it sounds mostly like Ruud in English. This is a board he developed, and he had a few extra with him, and he was nice enough to give me one. Him and his wife were there at the Tandy Assembly. Very nice folks. Enjoyed talking to them. And since I've got back, I've been ordering the parts. Got some line drivers, resistor arrays, LED arrays, some flip-flops, some more bus transceivers, the RAM, and I'm still waiting on some gals and pals. Instead of using a whole raft of TTL logic, he used a gal and a pal, which made it much more compact. Well, I just can't get anything put away today. You guys probably don't care about watching me do that anyhow. But did a nice layout on the board. He's got a couple LED arrays just here, you know, with like 10 LEDs, so you can check the status of things, or you can, you know, adjust the gal and pal to be able to show you certain things as you're developing. And he developed a diagnostic ROM that goes along with this so he could properly test it. And that I might get a board for that as well. And you can set this different ways for compatibility with different things. So I'll put a link to his presentation and the files for this below. Put a nice silk screen on the back. So that'll be fun to build. We'll do an episode on that and putting it in the machine and getting it to run. And maybe in the future we'll do something crazy like getting a hold of a 68K processor board and memory board so we can run Xenix on it, which was Microsoft's Unix operating system, which ran on the TRS-80 business computers. TRS-80 being the biggest distributor in the world of Unix systems at one time. Little known fact. Okay. I can't hardly stand it. We've got this beautiful computer sitting here. We can plug the keyboard in, plug the power in. It's not going to boot up, but we should see an insert disk message on the screen, I think, or at least some type of message. So after having the cover off and seeing that everything looks good inside, I think we can go ahead and power it up. You guys talked me into it, so let me get everything plugged in and then we'll try it. Okay. Power's plugged in, keyboard's plugged in. This is not going to boot, but hopefully we'll get something on the screen, some sort of error message, the power LED, that sort of thing. I don't have the GoTex hooked up, so I'll find out a little more information from Tim how he had this configured before we do that. And as big as this thing is, I'm probably just going to leave it sitting right here on this table for the time being until I get a better place set up as a home for it. So here we go. Get ready. Cross your fingers or your toes or whatever. It's making noise. Look at that! Insert diskette. Woohoo! Okay, and we can press reset. And indeed it does reset. It's waiting for a diskette. It survived its 2,000-mile trip to Ohio, from Ohio to Florida, and Florida back to Missouri. Amazing. I am super happy. Well, this was a fun trip. I got some equipment I didn't plan on getting, but I'm super excited. My goal is to have this TRS-80 Model II connected to my TRS-80 PC2. So we'll kind of have the opposite ends of the TRS-80 spectrum that were made in the same time period talking to each other. That ought to be interesting. Should be able to control the PC2 from the Model 2 and vice versa, depending how things are set up. So that'll be interesting. Was fortunate to be able to go to both events this year. I had some vacation time at work saved up, and it was kind of a use it or lose it sort of thing. So I thought, well, there's no point in losing vacation time. I'll try to hit both conferences. And it was a good time. If you guys have a chance to attend such a conference like Tandy Assembly or HHC or one of the others that go on, I would encourage it. It's great fun. You get to meet people you've only interacted with online. Meeting people in real life, as the kids would say, cannot be replicated online. It's a much better experience. If you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear from you. Just leave them in that comment section down there below. And links to different things I've talked about, I'll put in the description down there. And until next time, bye.